Ever wondered what it takes to stand on top of the world? Today, we're telling the story of a true giant of mountaineering, a woman who did all that and more. Junko Tabei, born in 1939 in Naharu, a small town in Fukushima, Japan, Junko was considered a frail and delicate child. But at the age of 10, something sparked inside her. A class trip took her to climb Mount Nasu, a local volcano. Standing on that peak, breathing in the crisp mountain air, she felt an exhilaration she had never known before. That single experience planted a seed that would grow into a lifelong passion. The world of mountains had called to her, and she was determined to answer. However, in the Japan of the 1950s and 60s, mountaineering was overwhelmingly a man's world. When Junko went to university, she tried to join existing alpine clubs, but she was often the only woman and faced a lot of resistance. Some men flat out refused to climb with her. Others made condescending remarks, believing a woman's place was not on a dangerous mountain slope. Did this stop her? Absolutely not. If the existing clubs wouldn't fully welcome her, she would create her own. In 1969, Junko Tabei founded the Joshi Toan Club, which translates to the Ladies Climbing Club. Its slogan was simple yet powerful. Let's go on an overseas expedition by ourselves. This wasn't just about climbing. It was a statement. It was a group of women carving out their own space, proving they were just as capable, just as ambitious, and just as tough as any man. The club's first major success was the summit of Annapurna 3 in the Himalayas in 1970. Junko and another member reached the peak, marking the first time Japanese women had conquered a Himalayan mountain over 7,500 meters. This was a massive achievement, but for Junko, it was just a stepping stone. Her eyes were set on an even greater prize, the tallest mountain on Earth, Mount Everest. Organizing an Everest expedition was a monumental task. The team, known as the Japanese Women's Everest Expedition, consisted of 15 women, mostly working professionals like teachers and computer programmers. They had to be incredibly resourceful to raise the necessary funds. They made their own gear from recycled materials, like turning old car seats into waterproof gloves and sewing their own sleeping bags. They saved every penny they could. Securing a climbing permit was another huge hurdle, as they were incredibly scarce. Finally, after years of tireless effort, they got their chance for the spring of 1975. The expedition began, and the climb was as grueling as expected. The team established their camps, slowly acclimatizing to the thin, unforgiving air of the high Himalayas. They were making steady progress until disaster struck at Camp 2, situated at 6,300 meters. In the dead of night, while the climbers were asleep in their tents, a massive avalanche thundered down the mountain. It buried the entire camp. Junko was knocked unconscious and buried under the snow. She couldn't move. She couldn't breathe. In those terrifying moments, she thought it was the end. Luckily, the team's Sherpa guides acted quickly, digging frantically through the snow and debris. They pulled the climbers out one by one. Junko was one of the last to be rescued. She was bruised, her legs were temporarily paralyzed, and she could barely stand. Her body was battered, and the psychological trauma was immense. But Junko Tabei was not an ordinary person. Lying in her tent, recovering from the ordeal, her determination only hardened. She had come too far to turn back. Just 2 days later, against all advice, she was back on her feet, ready to continue the climb. Due to the loss of supplies, the toll the avalanche had taken, they decided only one climber could make the final push for the summit. The team unanimously chose Junko. With the legendary Sherpa Peng Sarang as her guide, she began the final, treacherous ascent. The last leg of the journey was the most dangerous. They had to navigate the infamous Hillary Step, a near-vertical rock face just below the summit. It was a knife-edge ridge with a sheer drop of thousands of feet on either side. Junko later recalled her surprise at how narrow and exposed it was, something she hadn't seen in photos. She had to crawl sideways, inch by inch, with the abyss yawning below her. Then, on May 16, 1975, 12 days after being buried alive by an avalanche, Junko Tabei pulled herself over that final ridge. She stood on the summit of Mount Everest, 8,848 meters above sea level. She had done it. She was the first woman in history to stand on the roof of the world. The view was breathtaking, but her feelings were complex. It wasn't just euphoria. It was relief, exhaustion, and a deep sense of accomplishment. She had not only conquered the mountain, she had conquered the doubts, the stereotypes, and the immense physical and mental barriers that stood in her way. When she returned to Japan, she was a national hero. But Junko was a humble person and was uncomfortable with the media frenzy. She famously said, "I was the 36th person to summit Everest." For her, it was never about being the first woman. It was simply about climbing the mountain. She wanted to be known as a mountaineer, period. And a mountaineer she was, through and through. You might think that after Everest she would hang up her boots. But for Junko, Everest wasn't the end of the road. It was the beginning of a new chapter. She set herself an incredible new goal: to become the first woman to climb the 7 summits, the highest peak on every continent. Over the next 17 years, she methodically ticked them off her list. She climbed Kilimanjaro in Africa, Aconcagua in South America, Denali in North America, Mount Elbrus in Europe, Mount Vincent in Antarctica, and finally, in 1992, Puncak Jaya in Indonesia, representing Oceania. At 53 years old, she had officially completed the 7 summits, another historic first for a woman. But her love for the mountains went beyond personal goals. Junko became a passionate advocate for the environment. Having climbed mountains all over the world, she saw firsthand the impact of human activity. She was deeply concerned about the growing problem of waste and debris left behind by climbing expeditions, especially on Everest. She led and participated in cleanup climbs, physically removing garbage from the mountains she loved. She pursued a postgraduate degree in environmental science to better understand and address these issues. Proving her commitment went far beyond just words. Even after being diagnosed with cancer in 2012, Junko Tabei did not stop climbing. She continued to lead expeditions, mentor young people, and share her passion for the outdoors. She believed in the power of mountains to heal and to teach. Her goal was to climb the highest peak in every single country in the world. While she didn't complete that ambitious quest, by the end of her life, she had climbed the highest peaks in over 70 countries. Junko Tabei passed away in 2016 at the age of 77, leaving behind an unparalleled legacy. She showed us that your background, your gender, or what other people think of you does not define your limits. Her story is a powerful reminder that the biggest mountains we have to climb are often the ones we build in our own minds. Junko Tabei's life was a testament to the power of passion, resilience, and the quiet courage to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, all the way to the top. Thank you so much for watching. If you were inspired by Junko's incredible story, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of amazing people who changed the world.